Okay.
Perfect. So
Technology.
it is, it's always hard. So it's 7:04, so I wish to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Tamtame Wait nor Balcarra is home to an ancestral village of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. We're thankful to conduct our work within their territory, and I will call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. Approval of the agenda moved by Councillor
Wilder.
and Councillor second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. That the agenda for the regular council meeting, July 25th, 2022 be approved as circulated. Any questions, council? Seeing none, I'll look to call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I note that it carries in the affirmative. So we are on to adoption of the minutes, regular council meeting, July 11th, 2022, moved by Councillor
Wilder.
thank you, and Councillor Drake, thank you very much. Any comments? Not seeing any, I'll look to call the question that the minutes from the regular council meeting held July 2022 be adopted. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. And I
Aye.
note that it carries in the affirmative. Okay. And we are on to delegations and presentations. There are no items, and I'm going to ask Ken for item 5.1. If you could outline the report, Ken, welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a message here that said host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, you should be able to now.
Okay, let me try it. It's there now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
So this is the budget variance report for the period ending June 30th. And it occurs per our policy, and it occurs at the end of June, September, and December of each budget year. So what we have done, we've looked at what the spending and the revenue has been year to date, and try to take into account that and other information we know about to project where we'll end up at year end. But of course, it is early in the year, so we do make certain assumptions, of course, to do our estimates. And I would just like to acknowledge that you know, the staff also participate in this, which is very helpful. So what we have in the report is we have some detailed budget projections and estimates in the four appendices attached to the report. Appendix A being the general operating fund budget review, Appendix B being the water operating fund budget review, Appendix C being the ward operating fund budget review, and Appendix D being the capital budget review. So it provides a lot of the detail. I'm going to go over tonight the summaries, and we can entertain questions in detail or in summary as the need arises tonight. So first of all, I'm just going to go over the general operating fund, where things look at this point in the year. We do have a positive thing happening in the general operating fund, and that the regular operating revenues are projected to be approximately $93,000 over budget, or an increase of 6.8%. And that's due to three factors. The building permit revenue is projected to be up. Interest earnings are going to be higher because of the increase in interest rates. And we did receive a one-time extra grant from the province of BC for the small communities in the amount of approximately $70,000. So those three items have resulted in our increase in projected revenue of $93,000. Our operating expenses in the general operating fund are also expected to be up by about $52,000 or $53,000 or 4.5%. And that's due to additional administrative resource assistant, higher legal costs, and building inspection time has increased over what was originally budgeted for. Now, the next major line item in the general operating fund is the allocation of centralized support costs. And we allocate costs, as you remember, according to policy, into 3 areas. We allocate them into the major road network, which is of course funded by TransLink, into the water operating fund, and this should actually say ward operating fund. So the fact of the matter is those cost recoveries are projected to be $13,000 or approximately $12,600 in excess because of the increase in operating expenditures that are being allocated to 3 operating areas. So the net result after all of that in the general operating fund is we're projecting that our transfers to reserves and surplus will increase by about $53,000 over budget, or about 11.4%, which is a positive thing, and it'll help to build up council's reserves and move toward net financial asset position. So in the water operating fund, you can see that in this area, there's a bit of a challenge. The revenues are projected to be on track with budget, but the operating expenditures are projected to be approximately $12,800 over budget. And that's mainly due to the high SCADA operating costs, which have been partially offset by lower water usage that's been experienced. Maybe those high rain we had from the majority of this year have had a positive effect on water usage, which is resulting in some savings in that area, but they've been offset by the increased operating costs for SCADA. So when you look at the bottom line in water, the transfer to the reserve and surplus accounts are expected to be approximately $13,000 under budget, as there's less funds available because of the higher expenses that we're experiencing. In the ward operating fund, the revenues are projected to be on track. In the operating expense area, though, we're projected to be approximately $14,000 or $15,000 over budget, and that's for higher projected hauling costs for waste, recyclables, and organics. And so it's an area that will have to be monitored for the balance of the year to see how that works out and what can be done to help with that area. So what's happening in the ward in terms of the bottom line? We're transferring $13,568 more from surplus than budgeted for to balance the ward operating fund. And of course, that's related to these increase in operating expenditures. In the capital area, in the general capital expenditures, we're expected to be approximately $358,000 under budget. And that's because specific projects are not expected to move forward, including the budgeted multi-use path project. The water capital expenditures are expected to be $30,000 under budget because of one project. The universal water metering project is not expected to occur before the end of the year. And all of the ward capital expenditures are expected to be expended before the end of the year. So overall, we're halfway through the year and we do our best to estimate where we're going to end up, but it is early in the year. And the point of this exercise is that it points out in areas that need to be monitored throughout the year as well. And And the water area should be monitored on a monthly basis to see where they are continuing to track to. So this concludes the summary of my budget review. As I point out, there are a lot of details that are attached in the appendices to the report, but I'm happy to address any questions at this point and see if anyone has any.
Okay, let's start off with council, and I see Councillor Clark has her hand up. Go ahead, please, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Just a question, I guess, through the chair would be, I guess, to Stuart. Did we stay on budget for the Mitten Road overlay repavement there?
Through the chair to
I'll just
Stuart.
bring that up so that we have the detail.
Yep.
Because there was some money, extra money needed that we got from Marine Avenue that wasn't going to be done this year, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so
was
here's
the overall?
Midden right here.
Mhm.
My cursor is on Midden.
Yeah, on 155, right?
Yeah, it's 25,000 over budget, but we're expected to be under expended in Marine.
Oh, okay, because Marine, well, it would be a miracle in my view if we are gonna go under 100 for Marine, but we'll see. Thank you very much.
Stuart can expound on it. I think that this is for only partial starting of the Marine project in 2022, but I think Stuart would have some more information on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
if you'd
you.
like me to respond through the chair, please.
Yes, go ahead, please.
And yeah, you were right. As you remember that we did through council reallocate some of that funding to the Midden project. And so from my understanding, we should be right on target from that because no prices after that point, there were no increases. So the billing should kind of accurately reflect that along with that added spending off of the Marine road project, the money that was transferred over from there. And as far as the Marine Avenue road overlay, I do expect that that money or the project will probably be pushed to 2023. However, I'm going to try to get some engineering for that project done in 2022 because that project is a little bit more complicated than just a standard overlay just because it's slumping. So there should be some engineering input for the exact method of patching and repairing that road.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I remember council approved an extra $18,000 relocation from Marine to Mitten, but yet I see here that we went over 25,000 over rather than just 18. So we went a little bit over budget after all, even after the 18,000. Yep, thank you.
Did you want to comment on that or you feel you've made the comment already?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that when we did the reallocation of the funding, I think there was something to do with the $5,000 contingency that was actually in that project that may indicate within those numbers.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Councillor Wilder, you're next, please, I believe.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the report through the chair. I just wanted to make a little brief comment under Public Works and the Road Network. It has 0 on page 1 of 2, 0 allocation for general operating fund regarding less, and it says under the comments, less trail maintenance than anticipated. 0 has been spent on trail and public spaces.
So you're asking through the chair to Stuart?
Yes, please.
Okay, Stuart?
Why has there been no trail maintenance? And the reason I'm asking this, and I'm not sure if it's related or not, but I'm sure it is. I know that some of our regular trail users are cleaning these trails up themselves because they are so overgrown. It's really bad.
If I may respond through the chair, please.
Yes,
Thank you.
please go ahead. Thanks.
Yes, you're right that that we have been taking money from that budget line. However, staff have been maintaining our trails, and we have been weed eating as on a regular basis, including Marine Avenue ends, Tatlow, and the one that is off of Robson, the road end. So yes, we have been maintaining it. Perhaps it hasn't been noticed. We haven't been spending actual money on gravel and other cost items that, you know, in order to fix things. We have been maintaining them with staff's labor time.
Thank you very much, through the chair. I'm not talking about gravel or that kind of stuff. I'm talking about even just the cutting back the vegetation. And especially living up here on Main Avenue and going down, there's 3 trail systems that go down, and it's a forest going down.
So Stuart, you're indicating that our people have been out on the trails, correct?
Yes,
And they've been doing weed eating, right? And that's the nature of the question, correct?
correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Worship.
Okay. And have they been doing it recently? Like, do you have those?
Yes, Your Worship. They've been manually weed eating the trails, and if I could just extend to Councillor Wilder, if there are any specific trails that appear to be missed, please send me an email of the exact location, and we will get right on it.
I'll do that with some video. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilder, and thank you, Stuart. Do we have any further questions from council? Seeing none, we'll look to see if we have any from the audience. Not seeing any from the audience, so we'll okay, we'll look to we need a motion on the floor right now to the report entitled 2022 Budget Variance Report based on results to June 30th, 2022 be received for information.
So
Councillor
moved.
Wilder, thank you very much. And Councillor Clark, thank you very much. So it's on the floor for discussion, and we've been out to the public, so it's back to council. So any further comments? Councillor Wilder, did you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
My
that's
apologies.
okay. That's okay.
I'm in the team. I'm in the team.
You're in the club. Every night
that
we add a
club.
new member. Okay. So we've gone out to the public, so it's in front of the council. So any further discussion? Not seeing any, we'll look to call the question. That the report entitled 2022 Budget Variance Report based on results to June 30th, 2022 be received for information. All those in favor, raise your hands and say aye. And a note that it carries in the affirmative. So that's carried, and we will move on to the next report, 5.2. Stuart, if you could outline that report, please, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Your Worship. Um, 5.2, staff asks that BC Hydro LED street lamp replacement report be received for information. This is just information to council and to public, just to let them know that all 8 street lamps within the village will be replaced with 75-watt warm LED lights. BC Hydro advised that they may come into the village without any further notice, just because there are so few lights to replace. It'll only take a few hours to do, and without any service disruption. So back to the chair, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll add just to start off that once that's happened, can you update all of council that it's occurred, just so we have it, even if it's between council meetings, okay? And we will go to Councillor Clark. You have a question?
Thank you, Mayor Ross.
Go ahead. please.
Just through the chair, I guess would be to Stuart. Are those much brighter than the ones we have right now, or can you?
Through the chair, please.
Yes, go ahead.
So they may be a little bit brighter at 75 watts. 75 watts are the recommended lighting for residential neighborhoods. They our traditional lamps are most of them are 200 watts. So we are going down in wattage, but just because of the design and that they're LEDs, they do shine a little bit brighter, and that's the reason why we went with warm as opposed to the colder light. So we're trying to tone them down the best we possibly could with the control that we did have.
Okay, thank you. And so 75 would be the minimum that they offer. And I appreciate you guys asking for the warm one, because I think that makes sense. But I guess 75, my next question would be 75 is the minimum that you must have, or is there such thing?
Through the chair, please.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
They actually do have lower wattage ones, the 35 watts, but those ones are designed for the low lamps, not the traditional height type lamps. So the 75 watt warm lights are the ones recommended for residential and that height that they are.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Clark. And anybody on council with any further questions, comments? Okay, so let's right now, let's get it moved and seconded, and let's go to the audience to see if there's any questions. Moved by Councillor Drake, and I see Councillor Clark seconding it. It's on the floor, so we'll go out to the public, see if anybody has a comment. Looking down, not seeing any comments, we'll come back to council. And it's now on the floor for any further discussion if people want. Councillors, anybody like to say anything? Nope. So I'll look to call the question that the BC Hydro LED street light replacement report dated July 25th, 2022 be received for information. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. And I note that it carries in the affirmative, the ayes carry it. Okay. So we are on to Stuart is going to outline the report, Public Works and Emergency Preparedness Coordinator report dated July 2022 regarding domestic water supply connection, safety, fire sprinkler only. So go ahead, please, Stuart.
Thank you, Your Worship. Staff asks that the domestic water supply connection safety for fire sprinkler only report be received for information. The report confirms that our municipal waterworks bylaw already have provisions within it to ensure safe municipal water supply in the event of a resident applies for sprinkler use only hookup. When staff becomes aware of a sprinkler connection only permit application, it will require the installation of a double backflow preventer to be installed at the discretion and location of the Public Works manager. In addition, the manager of Public Works will work with the building department, plumbing department, to ensure no cross connection exists at the planning stage of the BP or building permit application. And once again, those are the items that are within the bylaw itself already. Added protection of a double backflow assembly is required for any potential backflow condition as per American Water Works Association Manual of Water Supply Practices M14, and is also reflected within the training courses for water operator certification as well. So back to the chair, please, for consideration.
Okay, we'll open up the questions on council, please. Go ahead, council. No questions? Councillor Drake, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for this. A couple of questions. On page 2, we talk about the requirement for a pair of permits, and this again is for an individual connecting only for the purpose of a sprinkler system, I take it, and that there would be 2 permits required. I just wanted to clarify, we're not adding any additional permitting fees, are we? I thought we did away with those earlier on. There won't be an additional charge that would not normally be faced by someone connecting to the system.
Through the chair.
Yeah, through the chair, please. So, you know, what the report does is basically describe the practices that would be involved if someone were to hook up to our water distribution system for fire sprinkler only. When they do that, usually, well, always, that will require 2 different types of permits, because they're going to have a renovation in order to, you know, cut away all the gyprock on the walls, install the piping, and then, you know, and that requires a plumbing permit. Whether or not it is the fees are at the discretion of council, and so that's why I kind of stayed out of that, because I mean that's what council is going to be determining moving forward.
Yeah, if I might, through the chair, that's fine, as long as it comes up and the council recognizes that we ought not to have an additional fee because someone is putting in a sprinkler system in this case. The other item, yeah, I'm sorry. So you're saying in this case, because it's not for domestic use, we don't require that a box and meter be installed. We're just requiring this double check backflow preventer. Is that correct?
Through the chair, please.
Stuart,
Yeah,
please.
that's one area within the bylaw that, you know, it indicates that we don't necessarily need a meter itself. However, the public works manager may install a cheater meter. Well, you know, I'm not going to be doing that. We already have meters for every single box, and anytime we do a connection, we actually install a meter at that connection time. So there will be a meter on it, despite, you know, the flexibility that it was stating inside our bylaw.
Okay, that's fine. I guess the double check backflow preventer could be useful in any case where there's a sprinkler system, since I gather the water sits in that, whether they're using the water for domestic purposes or not. But I'm quite happy with this one. It does now allow people who are willing to invest to provide sprinkler protection to their homes the opportunity to do so. And of course, all these homes end up on the system once the property changes hands. Thank you.
Okay. Council, any further questions? Okay, then let's move this and then let's get it out to the audience, see if there's any questions there. So moved by Councillor Drake, your hand's up for that. Thank you. And Councillor Wilder, thank you. Okay, it's on the table appropriately. We'll go to the audience, see if there's any questions. Not seeing any questions. No one in the, I just got Councillor, the only hand I'm seeing is Councillor Drake. So we will return to council and we will look to have any further discussion. Any further discussion from council? Not seeing any. I'll look to call the question. All those in favor of the domestic water supply connection safety fire sprinkler only report be received for information.
Aye.
Okay, and I see that it's carried and it's in the affirmative. Okay, so we will go to Stuart, 5.4, Public Works Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Report dated July 25th, 2022 regarding 2021-2022 MRNB funding reallocation. So if you could go ahead, Stuart, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, staff asks that council approve a funding reallocation for the 2021-2022 MRNB funding. The purpose of the MRNB reallocation application is to secure grant funding for Bedwell Bay Road safety barriers and other road safety projects along Bedwell Bay Road. After talking with TransLink about the grant funding money that was to be canceled relating to the multi-use path, they advised us that it was possible to reallocate some of the MRNB funds into road safety projects. However, the changes needed to be submitted by May 23rd, 2022 in order for TransLink to prepare their package for the first reading on June 2nd. So upon discussing the issue with our senior manager at the time, it seemed reasonable to try to save any money that would otherwise go back into TransLink's reserves for competitive bidding projects. So with the help of TransLink, we submitted a revised application, which included guardrails along Bedwell Bay Road, solar powered speed signs, and possible speed bumps. Back to the chair, please.
Okay. Thank you, Council. Go ahead with any questions you have at this point. Councillor Drake.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for this report. I'm glad to see some additional barriers go up because that is a safety issue, although obviously it's not for those that are on bicycles or walking, although I guess it may even be a risk for bikes. But certainly there are some areas that could use that. I did want to say that on the matter of speed bumps, which I had raised at council, it was suggested at the time I did that the grooving of the road or serrating the pavement prior to crosswalks could be equally effective without requiring the speed bump, which I appreciate is challenging on MIN roads. They, as you cite here, they do want to study first. And I can't imagine our volumes are going to justify speed bumps in their mind. I'm just saying, as far as I am concerned, I'm just as happy with the use of serrating on either sides of crosswalks so that people register that there's a change of status as they approach them. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. Council, any further questions from council? Okay, so we'll go to the audience, but before we do, I just have a couple of questions to Stuart. Could you just outline that obviously there was some urgency to do this. How much time from when you first got it to when it needed to be in TransLink? What was the timing of that? How many days or weeks, or how quickly was it, please?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Let me see here. It was brought up around May 22nd. Let me see here. No, I got to get this right just so.
Okay, we'll take your time.
Yeah, the changes needed to be submitted by May 23rd in order for TransLink to prepare the package for the first reading on June 2nd. So it was about Thursday or Friday. I haven't got a calendar in front of me, but it was about 3 days before that I was talking with TransLink, and they offered this information, and I went straight to our CAO at the time, our temporary CAO, and he said it.
Yep.
Said it should be. We're just trying to save money, and we can submit any kind of an amendment later. So let's get this done, and then save the money that we can, and present it to council. So it was May 23rd when it had to be submitted by for the June 2nd reading, but they needed it a week before that anyways, just to prepare the package.
So you said you had about 3 days. Is that how many days you had?
Yeah, it was about Thursday before. Like I said, I don't have my calendar with me. I don't want to open it up, but I had about 3 days, something like that. And so I talked to Dennis. He said, yes,
Yep.
definitely. Let's get this quickly revised. It should be a no lose type of situation. So I did that, submitted it, and now we're coming to you for approval. And please, as I said in the report, after the road safety study, we're going to rely on the road safety study, and then it'll be brought to council for discussion. And then if any changes occur in our plans, I can submit to TransLink for further revision later on down the road. We got 3 years for this money, and we just wanted to save the money. That's the long and the short of it. Back to you,
Okay.
Chair.
Good, appreciate that. One quick follow-up, Stuart. Can you, I appreciate that going forward, we can make changes, but you're a safety person. In your estimation, what's the crosswalk that's most vulnerable? Is it the one around Jug Island Trail in your mind? Only yours?
In my mind, I believe that the crosswalk around Kelly Avenue is probably the most challenging, hazardous, because of the turns in it and the speeds of the cars.
Okay. So we could change 3 years. We could also change tonight, correct?
Your worship,
Yep. Go ahead.
I would like to have, rather than change it a whole bunch of times, I would like, if you would permit, I would like to have that road safety study done first. They'll give the recommendations. They'll cite everything, because I'll probably be with them anyways. And then after that, then we can only do like one revision, as opposed to trying to do multiple. Like if we change it now and then ICBC does a study and then we change it again later, it would complicate things.
Okay. All right, so going to the audience, please. We'll have a look. Anybody else on council? I'm not seeing anyone else, so we'll go to the audience. Anybody out there with a question? Not seeing any. We'll go back and we'll look to right now get a motion moved by Councillor. Who wants to move it, please?
I'll move that.
Okay, Clark, thank you. And moved, seconded by Councillor Snell. Thank you, Councillor Snell. And it's on the floor that council approved the funding reallocation for the 2021-2022 Mrnb funding. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I know that it carries and it's in the affirmative. Okay, and that brings us to, thank you for that, Stuart. And that brings us to the report from the mayor and project leads. So I will just start off with my report, and the first one on it is the Metro Parks Committee tour of Bowen Island. It occurred on July 15th. I understand that each year the committee goes on a tour, and so it was very good to go on that tour. We went by water taxi from Horseshoe Bay, so we saw it from a slightly different vantage point. We saw Crippen Regional Park off Dorman Point. We went up to the Davies Orchard, and they're doing some work with some older homes there, and they're able to do some renovations that are done in a heritage way, but also in a way that is going to bring some money back to Metro. So that was a positive people. We went to Killarney Lake and saw the different things that are happening there with the natural resource management. And we saw the Mount Gardner Trail connector, and it was quite an impressive thing. They'd had a bunch of illegal trails that had been built, and they were able to, by working with one of their people, they actually had the novel idea of reaching out to a private school and said, can you send some people to help build those trails? And I think he had the ability to realize that at one point, the young students were building trails with Metro during the day. And then later in the day, later in the evening, we're building some of these trails that were causing problems. But over the course of time, they actually ended up, because of the way they were treated and embraced, they ended up abandoning the other trails and understanding the need for not having trails that interfered with the ecosystem. My second item was I got to go to Symphony in the Park, Mrnb Council invite. It's a free concert by the Vancouver Symphony, and it was a very enjoyable time. It was July 16th, 2022. And I wanted to include it because it reminded me of all the wonderful things that CRAB has been able to put over the time. And it really reminded me how good it will be when we've had a couple events, and I wanted to thank CRAB for that, but it's been difficult with the pandemic. And I look forward with everyone to having some more events as the year progresses, and hopefully the pandemic doesn't carry on. On July 19th, I attended an announcement put on by Sheila Malcolmson. She's a Minister of Health and Addiction, about some much needed mental health and substance use supports as in the Tri-Cities area. The new foundry, as it's called, is opening up in the Tri-City. It's going to provide mental health and substance use support, drop-in counseling, physical and sexual health care, as well as youth, and most importantly, peer family support. And the Foundry Tri-Cities will be operated by Share, who has a very long record here of being able to do good community services. And it is the second of 4 new centers to be announced in the next few coming months. And Foundry BC has indicated that they will continue to offer provincial virtual counseling as part of their provincial service for anybody in the Tri-Cities area as the new Foundry gets set up. There's a Foundry app that people can use, a website, or they can just use a phone. And it was the theater at Centennial was packed from people all over the community, from all 5 communities. There was mayors or councillors representing each one, and it was a real pleasure to be there on the behalf of the Village of Belcaire. And I want to also acknowledge my colleague, Lisa. She was planning on coming, was not able to make it, but she's been doing some work on this. So part of the positive outcome goes to her work. So any questions on that? I'd be pleased to answer. Councillor Clark, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. My question will be on your update about parks.
Yes.
I understand, I usually, go through the agendas of the parks meeting, and I've seen probably a month ago, maybe 2, that there is some plans or studies being done for some improvements around White Pine there. And one of the improvements was one that I found really interesting, that it was a place for people to do a turnaround rather than turning around at the road there and taking the opposite lane.
Yes.
So could you please tell us a little bit more about this and what's coming? I just know what I read on the agenda, so I was wondering if you have any updates on this, because this is something that would be really good for us to know, for the residents here and council as well. Thank you.
Yep. So I'd be pleased to tell you what I'm aware of right now. There was a verbal report provided. It's still in its infancy, and they're looking at doing some things, because clearly the setup there right now to enter the park is not a good one, and they need to be able to improve it. And you will notice recently that they've become way more rigorous in not allowing cars to be on. I was out there on Sunday, and they filed them in, and then they shut them down and moved them on. But they're looking at ways to, there was a study initiated, and they're looking at bringing the results back. They've looked at a number of different places, both in Canada and in North America and outside, to do some of the things. And when they commit that to writing, I will certainly bring that forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't see the meeting, but it wasn't a verbal report that I've seen. It was actually on the agenda, and there was some drawings about it. I think there's a report about it. But thank you for that. And I would like to do some updates about the OCP, if I may, if I have a chance. If now it's a good time, or you let me know when. Thank you. Oh, actually, Mayor Ross, I have one more question to you. I'm sorry.
Nope, no worries.
Is that okay? And it's about parks as well. So we have on this agenda the item 9.4, which is a letter from a resident from another municipality talking about boat launches places. When I was reading that letter, I had an idea. They talk about Whiskey Cove here,
Yes.
and we all know that there's a Whiskey Cove. There's a part that's a divers beach, right? And the
Yes.
this municipality, we do issue permits for the divers, although it's not advertised. Nobody, just a few knows. But one idea that I would like to throw it out there is that that's parks land. Whiskey Cove is it's owned and maintained by parks.
Yes.
So an idea that I would like to throw it out there is that perhaps parks should be the one creating some parking spaces there if they would like to accommodate a few cars. There's quite a bit of their land there. I don't believe this is a job that's the responsibility of Belcara to do that, although I'm sympathetic with the letter. But perhaps that's something that parks should look into, because at the end of the day, that's their land. And if they can accommodate 4 or 5 spaces there, it could easily be done. But then you would have to cut some trees. So I just wanted to throw this out there. So for access for the divers and whoever
Right.
wants to launch. Thank you.
So actually, I would say that we're thinking alike, because this came forward and we requested her to provide some more information. And I think it clearly resides with parks. And so it should be, I'm hopeful that someone refers it to them. Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
And then when I can, I'll do the OCP.
Yeah. Did you want to do
Yeah.
that OCP? I know there's some OCP things at the end. Would you like to do it there?
At the end of the meeting or at the
Yes,
end of
yeah.
this?
Yeah, I note with the agenda that there is, at the end, there are 2 items that I believe, I haven't seen them, but other than what's on the agenda, but I believe that they're going to be OCP oriented, and that at that point, there's going to be at least one person that's going to excuse himself. And so if you can include that OCP stuff, then it would be helpful. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, good. Okay. Councillor Wilder, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I think my question probably wait till later as well. I was on the parks part, and regarding this, my dog is yelling at me. Sorry.
That's okay.
Again, stop it. We've been talking for years about having the signage changed coming into the village.
Yep.
And I've been an advocate for that for a long time, so that the signage is past the 3-way stop. And Dennis was so active on that before he left us, and I don't know where that was left. And I
Okay.
know we were working diligent with them, and someone else was on holidays again, and then he left. And I mean, if that signage was just past the 3-way stop by the mailboxes there at Bedwell Bay and Bedwell Bay, 3-way stop, that certainly would alleviate a lot of traffic still coming into the village. And I kind of wondered where that was at, but we don't have to talk about that right now. We can talk about that later. I just want to put that back on the table.
My understanding that was conveyed to Metro, and
Yes.
yeah.
And they dropped the ball again.
Well, I would say that they are looking to do a full planning exercise that will include things like that, and will include other parts too. But my hope
Okay,
too
I
that
think
they
we're on
would-
year 4. I think we're about on year 4 now with this. Year
Yep.
3.
Yep. And I know Carolina's brought it up. I brought it up, and my hope is that they would do it sooner, and it was conveyed to them most recently. I don't know what is preventing that part. But I can certainly follow up here.
Yeah, I'm ready to buy my own sign and put it up.
Okay, well,
I won't do that, but
no.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's back
okay.
moving forward, so that we're not going backwards on this one. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, thanks very much, Lisa. And Sherry Chisholm, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi there. Yes, I wanted to make a little comment about tonight coming home at 6 o'clock, the lineup of cars waiting to get into White Pine. And eventually, with frustration, we pulled out into the oncoming traffic lane and managed to get past 20 or 30 cars, but there was a bus even in the lineup. And some of the cars were actually parked and the owners had left the vehicles. And there was the bus waiting to drive. It was really bad. So if a fire engine or an ambulance, never mind me just trying to get home,
Yep.
you had to go into the oncoming lane. The park really needs to dig out a bit of that bank and take the park line up right off the paved road so that the highway, the roadway, stays open to people who are going into Belcarra. So that's my comment. And I would hope that before everybody shuts down for the summer, we could get the village maybe could get a letter into the parks so that it would be front and center at their next meeting. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Okay, and just to let you know, each time on a weekend when it looks like it's hot, I'm in contact with Mayor Vagramoff, who that is their jurisdiction. And I have encouraged him, spoken with him on the phone and spoken with him at a meeting and spoken with him in person and said that we don't have the ability on the road with the RCMP to police that, but he does with the Port Moody Police and in particular. And he's conscious that he says, I don't direct my police force, and I know that, but he certainly, my view is he needs to have conversations. And secondarily, he certainly directs the bylaw enforcement officers, and he also directs the tow trucks that they engage. And so on the last weekend before, he indicated that the bylaw enforcement officers would be out in force and the tow trucks would be out in force. And they've this latest weekend, early in the morning, it looked like there were concerns. And so I was on with our people and confirmed, and I think Stuart confirmed about the number of tickets that were written. And we continue to do that from our end. And we've also indicated that Coquitlam Towing, who has been good for us, we also want to make sure that they continue to service our needs and just not Port Moody's. So anyways, we'll look to do some more work on that. Thank you for your comment, Sherry. Okay, Councillor Wilder.
No, I'm not quite finished yet. I don't think there was any ticketing on Sunday. At least there wasn't down here by the park.
Okay.
And
Okay.
also,
Excuse me, can I just stop you for a second there and ask Stuart, because it would be useful, because Stuart's the one that's aware of the ticketing.
okay.
Stuart, so your question is, you don't believe there was any ticketing on Sunday?
No.
Okay, so let me ask Stuart. Stuart, did we issue any tickets on Sunday?
Thank you, Your Worship. We did have Lance was on scene at least, throughout the day many times. He only issued one ticket on Midden Avenue. There were other cars parked there that did have permits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that I had noticed. And when we're talking about the congestion of traffic at the entry to White Pine Beach, I don't know if that really is a Port Moody responsibility. It seems to me it's the park that needs to get their visitors off the road.
Okay, so I appreciate you've got the answer on the other one.
Good.
And I wouldn't disagree that the Port Moody jurisdiction for the road
Yeah.
is their police force. But in addition, and it's something that when people talk about 4 years ago, I sat down with the mayor and we talked to them and said, you don't simply get to say it's someone else's to Metro Vancouver, because they have a stake in it, because the people are attracted to the park. So
Yes.
anyways,
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks very much. Councillor Wilder, did you have a question?
Not a question, just one more comment on that same note here is I had a resident call me specifically. He had to be escorted back into Belcarra from Sassamat, from White Pine Beach, by the RCMP, who was very gracious about it, because he was stuck in traffic before White Pine coming back home, could not get past the traffic. People were stopped, and the RCMP finally pulled over into the oncoming traffic and escorted him to the three-way stop so that he could get past the lake. I think that's just outrageous that we even have to have that happen. There is a serious problem there. And whether it's Port Moody, whether it's Metro Vancouver issue, whoever it is, and his suggestion was, don't let them stop on Belcarrick or Bedwell Bay. Tell them to go into the park and park into the park. Like, just park there. Don't stop on Bedwell Bay. He actually had that escort in, which was very generous of our RCMP. Well, actually, it wasn't RCMP, it was Port Moody Police, to tell you the truth. It was Port Moody Police that
Okay.
escorted him into the village because he could not get by.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. And we have not seeing anything further. We'll go for a report from our acting chief administrative officer. Please.
Okay, I have a motion on the agenda, and I'd actually like to make an amendment to it. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks at the beginning of September, and we need an acting corporate officer in order to hold a meeting. So I'd like to ask council to consider that council approve the appointment of Connie Esposito as acting corporate officer from September 6th to 16th inclusive. Just to cover that period of time that I won't be here.
Okay, so we'll get someone to move that motion, please.
I'll move the motion.
Councillor Clark and Councillor Drake. Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion on that?
Thank you, Connie.
Okay. So not seeing any discussion, we'll look to call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And we,
I have one more
Yes, go
item,
ahead.
Mayor Ross.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I have an email that will go out to residents tomorrow regarding a joint SVFD workshop with Anmore Council. The meeting will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Anmore Fire Hall, and the public are welcome to attend. Belcarra staff will take notes at the meeting and make them available.
Okay, good, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councillor Drake?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Paula, for all the work supporting that. I just wanted to mention, I had been indicating to some people I'd spoken to that we would be recording that proceedings, even if it's only audio. I think it would be perfectly all right if anybody had an iPhone, you could do it with that. I just like to have it available in case somebody wanted to hear it. So not urgent, but if anybody who is going to be there, I will not be there in person, but anyone who's going to be there has an iPhone, they just let people know they're going to record the meeting, and we could probably make it available on our website. So thank you.
Okay, so we got counselors coming in attendance. So if one of them wants to do that, that'd be great. And Paula, you're going to be doing some notes for us, correct?
Yes.
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 Okay, and it's going to go up on our site too, right? Correct?
Yes, I'll be posting it on the website, and I will send out a email to our resident email list.
Okay, good. All right. So any questions or comments on that from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Not seeing any. We'll look to go on to correspondence proclamations, that correspondence items 9.1 to 9.7 be received, please.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
moved by Clark, Councillor Clark, thank you, and Councillor Snell,
Second.
thank you very much. Okay, and all those in, any discussion on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Councillor Drake, go ahead, please.
You're muted.
Sorry, I was jumping ahead to discussion of the action items, so
Oh.
it's a whole new club. Hand up too early.
Okay, so let's move that they be received, and then we'll come back to the action items, okay? So all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
note
Aye.
it carries and it's in the affirmative. Okay, so we're now on action item 9.1. So Councillor Drake, are you on this one? Councillor Drake?
You're
Yes,
muted.
yeah,
There.
more effective with the mute off. Yeah, I just wanted to say with respect to 9-1, I mean, I think the request makes eminent sense. The road area is so short. I'm sure it does nothing but confuse people. I think it would be a very useful change unless there's some serious technical problem with doing it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Councillor Clark, I know you have your hand up. Go ahead, please. And then Councillor Wilder.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Drake. I agree with the letter. I think this will be more simple, especially when it comes to deliver to those people. So I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, good. Councillor Wilder, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I agree 100%. My only question is, are there any other vacant lots on West Road that would be affected in the future? That would only be the only consideration, but other than that, having done the directory for 15 years or whatever, I never have anybody on West Road. So it is fine. It is quite confusing coming along Bedwell Bay. So I think this is a brilliant presentation or recommendation from Nancy Johnson, Nancy and Joel, and Eric and Jillian Hull.
Sure.
So I'm totally in favor of it. As long as there's no other properties on West Road that could be affected in the future.
Okay, and I note that Paul is noting that down, and in addition, our staff is going to figure out what the requirements for a road change are and get back to us. Okay, so makes sense. Thank you for your comments. Anybody in the audience that would like to comment? Not, am I seeing anybody? No, I'm not seeing anybody. So let's look to that motion. We need some movers and seconder for 9.1.
I'll move the motion. I thought I already moved, but I'll move.
Yeah, we already did the movement second. We
Okay,
did discussion.
Paula, did we have it? You're muted, please.
I think you moved and moved the
Okay.
motion for receipt of information or receipt of items,
Yeah.
not
So
for the.
let's,
not-
I don't
not for the
believe we have
action.
this, but regardless, it's rather than taking time, Councillor Clark, you've offered to move it, correct?
And
I'll
I'll
move the
second that.
motion. Yeah.
And Councillor Wilder seconding that, so it's now on the table for any discussion. Any further discussion from council? Do we have any from the audience? I'm not seeing anyone, so we'll come back and we'll put the question to council, that council direct staff to research the requirements for road name change. And in addition, to keep in mind about the vacant lots. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Hi.
And I note that it carries in the affirmative. Okay, so information items. You've got 9.2 to 9.7, they've been received. Okay, and then anything on the 9.2 and 9.7, we've received them. So anybody, Councillor Drake, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just like to set respect to 9.3 from Ian McDonald regarding the Bullard.
Yep.
I just wanted to mention, I think as I did in an email when I saw his note originally, Colleen McDonald, who was with whom I was walking the road, had showed that to me as well. It seems like it makes eminent sense to remove that hazard for bikers. So I just wanted to, hopefully that we could get this done before Ian has to write yet another letter.
Okay, so let me, if I can, Stuart, you're handling this. So can you give council an update in terms of just generally what's going on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Staff has already installed some signs, please dismount type signs. At the same time, staff does recognize that there certainly can be improvements made. We will be phoning up the consulting company, Urban Systems, to ask for some input as to if they can give any kind of reasoning for the design as it stands. Further to that, if they can help us and give some advice, then we'll move forward on that. If not, it may require a quick consulting study to design a proper design for the baffle prior to installation.
Okay, so you're in the process of being able to get a timeline on that? Yes?
That is correct, Your Worship. I'll be phoning up Urban Systems tomorrow or by the middle of the week, and hopefully they'll respond back to me with some answers to the questions.
Okay. All right. Councillor Wilder, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to go on record to say I don't understand why we need a consultant for this. It looks to me like that's so incredibly simplistic. Ian and Colleen have shown video. It's not digging anything up out of the ground. We're not moving the bollard. We're not moving that fencing. It's taking one edge of that fencing on the left-hand side, cutting it down a little bit so that when the handlebars go through, their fingers don't go through and rip their little knuckles off. I am absolutely appalled that we even have to go to a consultant. I just think that's craziness. And I walked that trail myself with Bruce and with Colleen McDonald, along with Dana and Fitz, and I see exactly what they're talking about. So, and this has gone on for so long, and they've asked for a long time. Why is this taking so long to fix up, which seems like such a simplistic problem? It's not like they're talking about, oh, there's gas lines or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the fencing is too far over. Cut the little fencing over so that their handlebars can go through the fence. That's all we're asking for. That's all they're asking for. And that's what I'm asking for on their behalf.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Wilder. Stuart, did you pick that up?
Yes, Your Worship, and if I may respond.
Okay.
I just want to, point out that it is a slope. It's not a level surface. There are certain heights and regulations to that. I do not want to put the municipality in any type of libelous situation. Bicycles have handlebars of all heights. So, if we cut it down to 32 inches or whatever, it may be good enough for one bike. It may not be good enough for another. I want to ensure that the municipality doesn't get put in a libelous type of situation.
Okay, and I think what you're talking about is, rather than libelous, you're talking about a liability issue. Is that correct, Stuart? Yes?
Yes, Your Worship. Sorry if I missed.
Okay. No, that's fine. Councillor Clark and then Councillor Snell, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. I want to say that I absolutely agree with Councillor Wilder's comments. It feels like every time we turn around in this village to do anything, no matter how little it is, we get, hey, we need to call consultants. And I don't like that. We're not talking about redesigning the trail. We're just talking about lowering a pole that's on the way of the bike handle. That's it. I see usually, I understand there's different bikes of different sizes, but I usually see the bikes that goes down there, road bikes, mountain bikes. There isn't that much difference unless somebody goes with a kid's bike there. Well, that's another story. But yeah, we're not talking about redesigning the whole trail or start cutting new trails all over. We're just talking about lowering a pole so people don't hit their hands there as they're biking around there. And I think we need to be realistic when it comes to our trails and our paths, realistic with our budget, with our reality, and as well as our topography. What kind of trails are you trying to build here? Trails that we can, use for the Olympics? No, right? It's just so we can move around a bit easier. That's all. So I'm also, I'm against calling consultants. We have a consultant report on this. Let's just let's just work on it. And that's it. We don't need 10 reports before we can do one project. And I find, like I've said before, we end up with all these studying reports and all these consultant reports that we have to pay a fortune for. But are we doing any work that those reports are telling us to do, right? Like, what's the point? We're just collecting reports. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Snell, go ahead, please.
Yes, I have to say that I totally agree with the remarks of Councillor Wilder and Councillor Clark. And it brings to mind the amount of inactivity that we've had to endure on dealing with the shoulder and pedestrian safety. We've had a lot of talk on the subject, but absolutely nothing has happened for one reason or another. And that particular topic of roadside pedestrian safety was high on your personal mandate for the beginning of this session. We've talked about it extensively. We've done site inspections. Our previous acting CAO, in fact, instructed activity on it, but again, absolutely nothing. So I just shake my head in disbelief at the number of hurdles that are thrown up to getting anything done that would seem to be fairly straightforward. But that's not the reason I put my hand up. I put my hand up to comment on item 9.4, which was the letter from Kerry Thompson, who I believe lives in Port Coquitlam, asking for a means of launching non-motorized craft. And I'm wondering why she's looking to Belcarra to provide this when really it's a parks issue. So that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Snell. Any other councillors looking to comment? Not seeing any, we'll go out. I noticed that Rob Begg, you have your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
Just a comment on your path. I actually witnessed the decimation of that calming structure. The structure was actually already modified. It was cut off exactly as you're requesting it be done. And the top rail and part of the 4x4 was thrown into the ditch. Now, when I went up there, I witnessed a biker actually catch his pedal on the side of that 4x4 because he started from Bedwell Bay Road and shot straight down through the roundabout and straight down Watson Trail. And we've witnessed them, because obviously we live next door, come out at the other end in front of Calm Coles, doing about 30 to 40 kilometers an hour, right out onto the driveway. My understanding is that that structure was put there as a calming effect, and in actual fact, it should be an offset, and they should actually have to get off their bicycles to go through it. That's why that was installed. It was installed poorly because you can actually skinny through there without, a good example, I guess, would be the top of Tatlow. You cannot shoot straight down. So I would like council to consider possibly, before we make these rash decisions, the fact that that has already been decimated once. Works has repaired it because it was a incredible hazard that you could go straight down from Watson, catch your pedal, and you all know there's about a 45-foot drop into Windermere Creek right there. There's no rails at all. So I would wonder, if we're talking safety, why somebody would be worried about crushing a hand when in actual fact, they're going through what's supposed to be a calming structure. So the other situation with Watson is, do we want anybody coming down Watson at 30 kilometers an hour? That trail presently is about 12 inches wide in spots. If somebody's walking up there and there's a trail, a bike coming down that trail, there is nowhere to go at a number of locations. So I think that council might want to reconsider the support on what this is. This is a walking and a biking trail. Because what you're doing by removing that calming, as a matter of fact, I believe it should be offset even more so that it's not possible to shoot straight down from Belcarra Bay Road, or sorry, Bedwell Bay Road,
Yeah.
and straight down that path. That's what you're allowing. Anyway, just something for consideration.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rob. Councillor Clark, you are not,
Yes, I have my hand up again.
yeah, just let me check for a quick sec, see if we've got anybody else. We don't have anybody else from the audience, so I'll make a call and call for anyone further from the audience. If not, we will now return to council. So Councillor Clark, go ahead, please.
I'd like to thank Rob Begg for this information. I didn't know that. Obviously, by knowing that now, I recall a conversation about how fast the bikes went there when it was another mayor here, and a few years ago. So my main point on this is that I do not want to spend any money on consultants. That's it. Even if this is there to slow down the trail or not. If it's there to slow down the trail, then it's there to slow down the trail. Then I believe rather than lowering those posts, we should have a sign there telling people to get off their bikes and go around it, because we don't want anybody going too fast with their bikes down there. One way or another, it's an easy fix, my solution. If that's the case, you want to slow down the bikes, which seems very reasonable to me after hearing Rob Begg's comments, then we should put a sign up there. But please, let's not hire more consultants to deal with that trail, because, oh my gosh, there's so many more important things that we need to do.
Okay, and I will go to Councillor Wilder, and then I intend to speak for a bit.
Thank you. That's my last this will be my last comment. I really appreciate Rob Begg's comments on that. I was one who was actually opposed to that trail from the very beginning, before I was a councillor. I have to say that. And I know that the previous council prior to us that was a road, a bike trail that came down from Bedwell Bay to go down Watson. So it was built as a bike trail. I never at one point, and I'll have to go back in the archives to see that, I'll even call Mr. Begg on this one, where it was ever determined that was a calming measure, because a calming measure is very different. But the whole point with the McDonald's, when they first brought this up, is that it's just too high to get a bike through there anyway, right? But if you have to go down through Bedwell Bay, go down to the roundabout, then you have to get off your bike, carefully walk your bike around before you go down again. That wasn't the purpose, I don't believe, of the original design. I'm gonna call it. I don't know that for a fact, because that was before my day, but I really appreciate Mr. Bigg's comments. I'm going to tell you that right now. And if there is a calming, there should have been a sign. There should have been signage that says that. And there is no signage. It's designated right off of Bedwell Bay to go down there. So that's my last comment on this one, and I will put my hand down. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And Rob, we've
Yeah.
returned.
Yeah,
to-
just to respond to that.
Uh,
Stuart,
Sorry, hang on a second. I was very, very careful to return to council and
Oh,
check
I'm
if
sorry.
there was anyone else. And I do want to thank you for your comments, and I appreciate them, but we've come back to council, and I've indicated that I would like to speak. And I will start off by saying this. I think the piece that council, and I believe, and I've talked to Stuart about this, I think there needs to be a timeline that's a little quicker on this issue. But I will say this, the one thing that I would urge Stuart to do and council to receive is the piece about saying that we don't want any more consultants is a useful proposition, as long as council takes the time to read the original report, because we've heard lots. I believe that Rob Begg is quite accurate in a number of those factors. But I think council needs to get the original report that my recollection is it was around safety and about that significant drop over the side, which has a concern for people that are on foot and on bike, and it is a drop over. And someone that came in to look at the safety piece said, in fact, yes, it was available for this, but we need to be careful. It actually created some conditions. And so if you're going to release, and I think Stuart's talking about this, about the liability piece, we need to be sure that if a safety consultant said X, Y, and Z, that if it doesn't stand, we're sure of why it doesn't stand. And I'm more than comfortable for that report to be returned to council in a timely way, and for us all to have that information in front of us. And I think we've been aided and assisted by Rob Begg, who's indicated he's close down there and he sees a lot. So anyways, I will look to Councillor Clark. You wanted to speak again? Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Ross. It's good to bring that report back. And with that, because there's so many reports that council has to read, like, again, there's so many of them piled up. Perhaps it would be good to do a list on this report of things that actually was done on the report. Okay, not just because there's a bunch of reports there that says, hey, you have to do 50 things. Maybe we did 2, maybe we did 5, maybe we did 0. So if you're going to bring an old report back, I would like to see a list of things that was accomplished based on that report too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And I'll look to, we've had all the councillors do that piece. So we, I believe there's no motion on that, but I believe there's clear direction for Stuart to bring that report back. There's been an indication, if there are a number of items, to give some indication of what has been done and what hasn't been done. But I think it will be useful for council to read that report and see what the initial result was from the safety consultant. Okay, so I believe that we're now at moved on to, we're moving to new business. So is there any new business from council? Not seeing any
Oh,
new.
okay, wait. Sorry, hang on.
Okay, you want on with this, Lisa?
I think so, possibly.
Okay, so
Put my
tell
little
me.
hand up. There it is, I found it.
Okay,
I think we may have already talked about this already. I just wanted to confirm, and I'm not sure if this is a place, new business or public question, is there was some concern about bylaw enforcement this weekend? So I just want to really make it clear to everybody that we did have bylaw enforcement this weekend. Because there was some public concern about that, but
Yeah.
we did definitely have
Yeah.
bylaw enforcement this weekend. Shay's on holiday, on vacation, but she was covered.
yeah, and in addition, Stuart, you want to share with people what you and your team were also facing on that day?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, the day was complicated. We had to close down the ward as we had a transformer that feeds the municipal hall and the ward had blown. So we were working with Hydro, trying to deal with that situation at that time.
Correct, but that, through the chair, that was only on Sunday, but what about Saturday?
Saturday was kind of like not that busy of a day for the summer weekend months. Brad was on duty that day and he did his rounds as per normal.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that. I just wanted to make it clear to the
Yeah.
public that we were covered.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And I do think that piece on Sunday, because of the potential for garbage being dropped off, it created a number of things for our team. So Lisa, thank you for your comment. Stuart, thanks for the work of your crew on the weekend. And thank you for people that contacted counselors or whatever. So we are now public question period. Go ahead. Sherry.
No, it's
Please.
Jim.
Jim,
Jim,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I
yeah,
can. Go
Okay.
ahead.
A quick question or two here. The, on the WSP report, when do we going to get the final rest of it?
Stuart, please.
Yes, thank you. The calibration of the water model was just done during this past week. And so now that information gets cross-referenced with the mathematical type of information that they have. And from then, a report will be submitted to council with WSP reporting. So we're on the final phase. We've done the calibration. Now all there is left to do is do their final touches and present the report.
And when would you expect them to give you the report now, do you expect?
Well, being that we're going on a break, I would suggest that it would expect that it would be for the next council meeting.
No, we're going on the break, but won't they have it in the meantime?
no. It's gonna be September.
Through the chair, I
Yes.
will contact WSP and request a specific date for the water model report to be submitted to staff.
Okay, that's good. And I think that will that conclude then all 29 questions that we had?
Through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead,
Um,
Stuart.
the water model is to assess the deficiencies of our water distribution system and under fire load conditions. So in other words, make an assessment of the water distribution system, of its capacity, using the calculations of fire load type of event.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay,
I don't think
So-
Jim's got his answer.
I did.
okay, hang on, please. You're not on the speakers list. We have other people and I'm going to go to other people. I believe Jim just indicated that, yes, there was an answer and,
We'll
Fine.
conclude it.
okay, so Brian Hirsch, I have you next. Please. Or no, sorry, my apologies, Rob Beck. I've got you next and then Brian.
I'm not on this topic. Is that all right?
Um,
I'm not on the water.
okay, is it
Is anybody else on the water topic and they'd like to continue that before I go ahead?
okay, let me just check. We've got Brian Hirsch. Brian, are you on the water topic?
Okay.
Brian, are you?
He indicated no, he
Okay,
shook his head.
so Rob, why don't you go ahead?
My question is just a point of order. And
Yeah.
that is that unfortunately I wasn't at the last council meeting when the OCP was received. And I believe that Mayor Ross, you recused yourself.
Yes,
My question, I guess, is a point of order that we had yourself and two councillors that were declared in conflict in regards to group wharfs, and that was a part of the OCP. And I would like possibly the two councillors to explain why they feel they're not in conflict with that document when it clearly advocates group wharfs.
okay,
I
so,
just think something might be out of order here.
okay, so on that point of order, I'm going to take it under advisement, and what I would like to do is I don't, if there will be a chair that will take over when I leave, because I intend to recuse myself as I've done in the past. And at that point, you should pose that question to the chair at the time. Okay,
Okay, thank you. I'll do that
Okay.
then.
thank you. Thank you. And then, okay, Brian Hirsch, did you want to go ahead, please?
Yeah, it's a new subject. Just a new subject.
Okay, yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Just a request for information. What is the procedure for seeking out and finding a new chief administrative officer? is there a set procedure? Who does the selection? And, how does it go about?
Okay, so right now we have a process that is in the stages of being initiated right now, and council, the full council, has a responsibility for final selection, and it's carried by a staff member or a consultant. And in this case, we have Dennis back is doing that work for us. Okay. Brian, does that answer your question? Yes?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I'm just looking to see if we have any other members of the public that want to pose a question. I'm not seeing any. Bruce, are you looking to pose a question?
Yes, I am, and it's in precisely the wrong location. I just want to put the point out, if I might.
Okay,
I'll proceed to illustrate why it's in the wrong location. Yeah, it just has to do with the comment that Jim made on the questions we have outstanding with respect to the water system. I appreciate a number of them are likely to be addressed by the study we're going to see shortly.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention that we are now, if I'm not mistaken, a full year from the point at which we raised the minimum level from 60% to 62%. And I'd like to know if we're advancing that now from 62 to 64. So it's a question through the chair to Stuart.
Okay, through the chair to Stuart, please.
Yes, thank you. We are at 64 right now.
Oh, thank you. So just to follow up on that. So sorry, we went from 62 to 64. When did we make the change?
Through the chair.
Yeah,
I don't have the exact date on because I wasn't prepared for the question, but we made that change probably about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, that's great. That's about the timeline I was hoping for. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Councillor Drake. And I note that the questions are now finished. We don't have any more from the public, and so we're now at the point where we will move forward, and Councillor Clark has some OCP things, and she's kindly agreed until, and I appreciate that as you folks go into it, I'm going to recuse myself, so I have some obligations to do it. So I've declared a conflict of interest and recused myself from the council meeting, noting that I'm not entitled to participate in the discussion of the matter or to vote on the matter because of a direct pecuniary interest in the matter. I am a director and a member of a group wharf association, and one that is the subject of legal action. In addition, the Village of Belcarra applied to the Supreme Court, and the justice provided the following. Now, regarding the petition itself, I am of the view that having declared a conflict of interest in relation to the Bedwell Bay Wharf Program report, brackets the report, it would be inappropriate for Mayor Jamie Ross and Councillors John Snell and Lisa Wilder to be permitted to participate, discuss, and vote on any matter arising from or in relation to that report. So at this point, I will ask Paula Richardson, our acting chief administrative officer, to remove me from this meeting. And I do not intend to return because I don't believe there are any items that warrant my return. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I just need 1 minute.
Yeah, I'll just hold till you
Okay.
remove me. And then at that point, people can go forward.
Okay, okay, you're going to the waiting room now. Okay, so Mayor Ross is in the waiting room. So Councillor Drake, if you'd like to take over as deputy mayor.
You're muted, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for the cue on muting. The yeah, so we have a number of items to touch on here. I do think I would just, we're likely to deal first, I think, with the point that Rob Biggs had raised earlier. And I will just note before we do that, as you know, Rob, in general principle, declarations of conflict are personal decisions of council members. But if either of the council members who voted on that want to comment on Rob's question, why don't we pause now to see if they'd like to? John, you wanted to comment?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Drake. I actually never agreed that I have been in a conflict of interest because I have an interest in common with probably 40 or 50% of the electorate. But be that as it may, the judge decided that a quorum existed between yourself and Councillor Clark to deal with issues on the on docs and so forth. As Mayor Ross just said, the justice said that councillors Wilder and Snell cannot participate, discuss, or vote on any issue on that, and I'm okay with that. I am going to stick around because I want to hear the Councillor Clark's report on the OCP. So right now I will take my hand down and I will take myself off screen and just listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Snell. Councillor Clark, did you want to comment, or are you happy with proceeding?
I'm happy with proceeding, but I will start this conversation giving the public an update about the OCP committee, and then we can get into those letters from ports. Thank you.
Okay, then. So I will then, let's move first on to the issue of the OCP status. Councillor Clark.
Okay, so just a heads up, I wanted to give the residents, there was a bit of confusion.
Excuse me, but I think Councillor Wilder has her hand up.
Councillor Wilder has her hand up, and she might wish to discuss the same item that Councillor Snell noted.
Thank you very much.
My apologies. My apologies. Yes, Councillor Wilder. Yes, I apologize.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. When Mayor Ross declared a conflict at the last meeting, it was sprung on us. I didn't even have an opportunity to speak with my lawyer beforehand. He was on a golf course in Desert that very day. And I thought we were just receiving the report for information. We were not discussing it. So I did not see how there was a conflict in receiving something that we were not discussing. The OCP is much more than the docs. That's just a teeny weeny little bit of it. So I don't see how I'm in conflict with that. And I have a right to declare that, and not being that's a personal voice here. I guess I was a bit blown away when I heard that just before the last council meeting. Sorry. That's how I felt. That's how I really felt. I didn't have an opportunity to even a day, 2, 3 days notice to contact my own legal counsel on that. But in any event, I've pondered it, and receiving an OCP without discussing it, like I just said, I don't see how that's a conflict, and that's my opinion. So I'm good with that.
Thank you, Councillor Wilder. Yeah, and I'll just make the point once again. Of course, these are personal calls on the part of council members, and I personally, I think your logic makes good sense. You're not making a decision; you're simply receiving a report. To complete that cycle, though, if I might, Councillor Clark, I'd like to move back to Rob Begasi. I think he wants to comment, and then we'll consider it closed. Rob?
Yes, the only comment that I have is that I agree with you. There was no discussion. However, there were recommendations in the draft report. The report was brought forward, and I would question the 40% of the people, as there's quite a few, more than 70 people, if you will, in the village that aren't on group wharfs. However, if that's the case, that's the choice. I just thought something had changed, And so just to confirm, so have the counselors had any legal advice on this matter? That would be my last question, and thank you very much as the follow-up.
Yeah, I think that's again, as I said at the beginning, issues of conflict are personal decisions on the part of council members. And I don't think anyone's, I mean, personally, it's a matter of choice as to whether you're probably wise to consult a lawyer, but you're not obliged to.
Okay.
What you're obliged to do is exercise judgment. And I think that's it. If anyone wants to respond to that point, I'm open to it. I personally don't think it's necessary, but if either.
No, thank you very much. Just for clarity and wanted to get it on the record. Thanks so much.
No, thank you, Rob. Okay, then I'm going to move back to Councillor Clark and her report on the OCP.
Thank you very much. So it's just an update that there's a bit of confusion as to when is the deadline for the public to comment on the draft of the OCP. The deadline is August 25th, so there's still plenty of time for people to comment on the OCP. So please write your letter in at ocp@belcara.ca. That's the email address that you want to send your comments in. So again, until August 25th, and this is coming in front of council for discussion on September 6th, on the September 6th meeting. And please, I'd like to see, I think we got so far about 10, maybe a bit over 10 responses. Sometimes I see more letters to the Barnacle complaining about a project that we're doing rather than letters to council for people to give their opinion. So your opinion, your input, it's really appreciated on this. This is a document that's obviously for the whole village and that will guide the policies for the next 5, maybe 10 years. Hopefully we're a small municipality, so 5 years, it's not long enough. So should be a bit longer than that, but please take your time, write an email. There's no constraint of what you can or cannot say. Like, you can just go ahead, read the draft that's posted on the website and send your feedback to ocp@belcara.ca. I just want to say, I want to thank again the committee. You're doing wonderful work. I bet that most of you that are watching right now know that we disengaged urban systems from the project. So, and the committee has really stepped up to complete things that, to come up with the work and save the municipality some money when it comes to consulting fees. So I really appreciate all the skills in that committee and all the hard work. Thank you. So that is it for now for my OCP update.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. One of the beauties of having a quorum of 2 is I don't have to ask if there's any other questions from council. I'll go directly to the audience. I think either Jim or Sherry may have a comment to make.
Yeah, it's Sherry. When does the final OCP get submitted? What date?
I can answer that if I may, Councillor
Go
Drake.
ahead, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, so it's coming in front of council. The draft is coming in front of council on September 1st. And so the committee is taking all the feedback from the public right now, and you will see a lot of that feedback reflected at the draft that will come to council. So it's also going to outside agencies, the draft as it stands right now, for comment. So by the time it comes in front of council on September 6th, hopefully you see some of those feedbacks reflected at the document. And I'll pass it to Paula if she has any additional comments on this.
It will come back to council for first reading, then it has to go to a public hearing.
Right.
And then we still have the opportunity to make changes to it because the public will have some input, and then third reading and then adoption of the bylaws. So it's going to be a little bit before we get through all of the steps.
Yeah, my concern is I've sent a couple of letters in and because council is going to be on vacation in August and the Barnacle isn't out till sometime in September, my letters won't really be getting anywheres, and I'm concerned that decisions are being made.
The committee has your letters.
Yes.
Yeah, the committee received your letters today. So the work that they do going forward from now till September, they will have all that feedback from the public. Okay,
Good.
so everything that we're getting, the chair and vice chair is getting as well, the letters, and then they're working from there. So the committee has access to those letters as well.
Do you think that there is going to be any consideration of leaving the final OCP being submitted to the government, waiting till after the election in November?
It's outside for our, it's out to the outside agencies for comment right now, the draft as it stands.
Yeah.
And now, yes, so it's already out there. But once it comes back to council, we can make changes if council wishes. If the question that you try to ask me is that, hey, is this council going to pass this OCP, or is it going to be next council? We're going to have to wait and see how far the committee work goes, and that would be a decision for a full council. So I can't really speak on that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
what I see in the draft, from my point of view, it
Mhm.
needs a lot of rework. So I'd
Yeah.
like to see the new council.
Yeah.
That's where I go. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, Sherry, for your interest and your letters. Thank you. Yeah, council's also received them, of course. Any other points on this before we move on to the two letters from the port? Oh, Brian, I think you're signaling. Are you signaling you're ready to move forward, or did you want to speak?
I'd like to speak about, I just have questions a little bit different. Well, first question is, who sees the comments submitted by the public? Is it just the, is it for everybody to read, or is it only the OCP members?
Yeah.
Maybe unless Councillor Clark can answer that, I may turn that over to Paula.
Yep, you can turn it over to Paula. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, Paula, can you comment? The question here is how widespread, when letters come in that relate to the OCP, is there a way by which the public sees all those prior to the public meeting, I guess would be the question.
Right now, through the chair, right now, the OCP email is coming to me, and I have been forwarding all of the information I receive, including Sherry's letters that I got a copy of as well. They are all sent to the chair, the vice chair, and to the council lead, Councillor Clark. And what they do from there, Councillor Clark?
So it's also copy to council, to all council. So all council is aware of the letters that are coming in. And then what the committee is doing from there, well, the committee has the emails, but what they're doing a sheet with all of the comments. So they're collapsing all the comments together and working from a sheet that has everybody's feedback one by one. And then they're discussing this as a committee. So that's how this work is being done right now. So by the time you see this coming to council, hopefully you'll see some of those feedbacks reflected in the document, or either in the document or on a letter from the OCP members to council.
Yes, so the public won't necessarily be seeing the letters written, sent in, unredacted. They will be edited and summarized and put
Well,
into
So this is a question that's actually, I was supposed to call Paula today to talk to her about this. All these letters, usually when you do public hearings, all the letters are shown in the public hearing agenda. So you're going to see all the letters that were shown like prior to the public hearing taking place. So Paula, I guess the question that I want to ask you is the same as Brian's. Will we see those letters that you are receiving right now in front of council when this comes to public hearing as one of the correspondence from the public to council on this subject? Because that would be really useful. That would be really good to have it.
That if that's what council wants to do, then that's what we'll do. I just need some direction from council how to put those out on as a report or as just a information item. It's completely up to council how they want to approach that.
So yes,
yeah, where we are, there's only a council of two, I guess, if others refuse themselves.
There is a council of two, yeah, but
I think it makes eminent sense at some point for people's letters to appear in the public.
And we can speak to the committee and have a report done that just lists the input that they received. You know, we'll just have to figure out a process of doing that. A lot of them were just emails that were just a paragraph. It wasn't necessarily a letter per se. So yeah, we can figure out how to do that. We can speak to the chair and the vice chair, and maybe we can use their chart that they've put together with all of the information to provide that.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, we've included complete letters and vast numbers of letters and emails on topics a lot less important than the OCP. So personally, I'd like to see, when we get to that point, I'd like to see the letters attached. Personally.
Me too. I agree with Councillor Drake. I think it's good for the sake of transparency, and also just show the letters that we received. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you.
So it's unanimous. That's great. We don't even have to I think I have
one more question.
Brian, all right, your second question. Okay, then we'll move on to Sherry and then David Goodman.
It's to do with the costs. What's the council's or the out-of-pocket costs thus far? There's been talk about urban systems being here and then not being here anymore. We don't know about Richard White was brought in. Is he still there? And so how are these costs mounting up? Where are we, and where are we likely to end up?
Yeah, I don't know where we are right at the moment, and I don't know whether Paula can report that. We haven't even got a final situation with urban systems, so I don't think we can give a final.
Through the chair, I would like to bring a report back on that. I can't just quote off the, I'd have to go and look at the accounting system to get a full reckoning of what has been spent. So if you'd like me to bring a report back to the next meeting, we can do that. We can certainly do that because the OCP will be a topic on the agenda that day. If we want to provide a report on the costs and a report including all the letters that have been brought in, we can do that. That's
great. Thank you very much. I think that makes good sense.
Yeah.
So I'll move on then.
Just for information too, just as a reminder, Councillor Drake, the budget put aside for that project was $100,000, and that budget's being it's being on that bucket per se since early 2019. So that was the final budget for that project. So we know it won't cost more than that.
Sherry, did you want to speak again? You've got your
Yes, I do. It is my understanding that the letters, majority of the letters were 1 or 2 liners, and the committee chair is sort of putting them out on whether you're for or against. But the actual letters are not going to be shown to the public. So my feeling is that if the council could have a website up so that if you do send a letter into the OCP, I think anybody who takes the time to write a few lines, or like me, a full page, I think everybody should read all of what we had to say, or what little we had to say. I think it's rather a shame to just put them on a spreadsheet and say, well, this person was for it and this was against.
Thank you, Sherry. But the point is, we are going to put all the letters together as part of the public meeting that finally happens.
Yes, I know that council is, but I think the OCP in the process isn't.
No. We just had this discussion, Sherry. So the discussion that we were having prior to you speaking on this, me and Bruce, we said that we would like to see those letters coming to public, because for the sake of transparency and for everybody to understand where everybody's at.
So that's excellent.
So that, we want to see that.
They would be in the public forum, in the form of material for the council meeting.
Excellent.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for writing in. I'm going to move on then to David Goodman.
Thank you. While I have the utmost faith in the 2 remaining councillors that now constitute the quorum, it doesn't seem right to me. And the OCP goes well beyond wharfage. Is there some way that the report on wharfage can be parsed off from the rest of the OCP so that the councillors can be intimately involved in the discussion of the OCP?
I couldn't agree with you more. We'll see what happens. Like there's lots in the OCP that isn't touched on by the justices' suggestions of conflict. So yeah, it's a good point, David. Did you want to comment, Councillor Clark?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make clear one thing. Right now, I'm giving you an update about the OCP. The only person on council that claimed conflict on the OCP document as a whole was Mayor Ross. So for that, we have the 4 councillors that will deal with that. Now on this item that we're gonna get into right now, which is the letter from Ports, and it's specifically about the dock project. That's where you will see a quorum of 2. So I just wanted to make that one thing is very separate from the other. The OCP, we have 4 council members, only 1 declare conflict. And for the doc, we have a 2-person quorum on council. That's myself and Bruce Drake. So just we need to, I think it's important for us to separate those things and recognize that they're very different one from another.
Thank you. So now if we can move on. I don't see any other hands up. If we can move on to the 2 letters that have been posted here. And I want to thank Paula for managing to orchestrate this as part of one meeting. Part of the difficulty we face since these restrictions have come into place with respect to group wharfage is that often the material we have is relatively limited. And there's a lot of orchestration necessary to do a separate meeting. So I'm very pleased that we could just tack this on to the end of the meeting, and those that felt they were in a conflict were able to leave. So 9.8 and 9.9 are the 2 letters we wanted to put into the public domain clearly here tonight. And they are, of course, communication from the port pertaining to the Bedwell Bay area. And indicate, well, I think they're self-explanatory. I'll pause in a moment and let Councillor Clark offer her views. I consider them simply as indications that everything is on hold until they complete their further consultations, and the port being the port, I don't expect that to be rapid, but we did have the opportunity to speak with them, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Did you want to say anything, Councillor Clark, in terms of introduction?
Not for now. Not for now. Thank you.
Okay, so then I would add that we did have a conference call with them, and you'll see in the second letter they did respond to a series of questions that we put to them. In fine government style, the answers tend to be quite repetitive and very similar. But the point is, they're not satisfied at this point that they are able to move ahead with respect to group wharves within that area. I do want to make one point, though, for those who have wharves down there, that we did question them, and it was quite specifically, if you look at the first paragraph on 9.9, they do refer to additional recreational docks. There's no suggestion, and there was no suggestion, that they were concerned about the existing ones. In fact, we asked them specifically about that, because if the fear is about the impact on eelgrass, it would seem to me it would be, I would have expected they had some evidence that docks were a hazard to eelgrass, and they didn't explicitly say they had that. In fairness, they didn't have that question in advance. We asked it during the discussion. But I'll pause there and see if Councillor Clark wants to add anything before we take questions.
Yes, I'd like to add one thing on this one specific subject. I think one of the concerns here, especially when we see such a long hold up from ports, is that, hey, what does that mean for my existing docks? So that question was posed when we talked to them, and the answer we got is that, hey, we're just looking at, we're not looking into the existing ones. That's not something we want to get into. It's there, and that's the end of it. We're looking into the new ones that Belcarra was planning to put on there. So I just like to make that very clear, because I've seen some of the letters even coming from the OCP. There's concerns about the existing docks and moving the existing docks because of the eelgrass on Bedwell Bay. According to the port's response to us, the verbal response during that conference call, that's really not something they want to look into it. So meaning that whatever is there now, my understanding from that conversation is that will be grandfathered. So I wouldn't worry. I personally would not worry about having existing docks removed because of the eelgrass. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah, thank you. So now, are there any questions? I mean, the letters, as I read them, simply tell us we're going to have to wait until they complete their additional consultation, at which point we will hear from them. The impression, and it's only personal, the impression I got from the conversation is that there is every possibility they will not accept any additional applications. But that's only a personal perception based on the conversation with them. I don't know, Councillor Clark, if you got a different impression.
I got the same impression. This is one question that I get asked often. Hey, what do you think? What's your personal feeling on this? I'm glad this is out because I can finally say here on record that I agree. I agree with Councillor Drake. Although I see that they're keeping on responding to us and sitting down for meetings with us, we actually even invite them to come here and talk to the public. So you guys could ask them direct questions. My personal feeling is that unfortunately, after all the work that we've done, the money that we spent and the time staff that we put in this, is that this is not going anywhere, at least not in the near future. I want to make it very clear that council did. We went to court to get quorum on this because of conflict of interest. We paid a consultant to make a report to bring it back to council. Everything that this municipality, while I've been here, everything on this mandate that we were supposed to do to get this project on tracks, we've done it. I want to make it clear that, I understand that there's some concerns around residents in the municipality saying, hey, how come you guys are holding up the dock? That's honestly, I'm going to say it very bluntly, that's fake news. That is not true. This council is not holding this process. Okay, now we're releasing those letters and we're letting everybody know that there's a hold, but Belcara is not the one holding it. And in fact, it's the very opposite. We've done everything we could have to accomplish this, to get some new docks. When we sat down with them, my main thing to them was like, just tell me what you guys want. Tell me what you need. We just want to get this done. And this is the response that we got. And hopefully, next council will have a better luck with that. But my sense is that, I'm not very I'm not very hopeful on this one. It's unfortunate. And it's frustrating, I guess, for all of us, because there's a lot of work done. Staff has been talking to port staff, and they've been having meetings for years since I got into this council here in 2018 about this. And again, money spent, time spent, and here's where we're at right now. But I just wanted to make sure that that the residents know that this is where it's at. So if anybody has any concerns or any comments or any complaints, I would refer them to ports because there's, on our side here, there's not much we can do at this point. Thank you.
So with that, I think we've got the two letters on the record. I don't know whether we'll hear back from ports sooner. I was rather hoping we would hear sometime during the summer, but thus far it's silent. Certainly their issue overwhelmingly, as you can see from the letter, is eelgrass. This is something that I gather Bedwell Bay is considered a prime source for it, and it's a very healthy set of eelgrass. The only cautionary note I would add with respect to any use in the bay is that if we have deterioration of eelgrass, that we could be into a very serious situation. But I don't think there's any sign of that at the moment. I think it's very healthy, and it's considered to be a prime location for them to add some for transfer of eelgrass to other parts of the area under the jurisdiction of the port. So with that, I'll ask, are there any questions from the audience? Looking, I don't see any. I'll ask a second time. We certainly will bring forward, once we have any other correspondence from them, we'll certainly come back and again tack it on to the end of a council meeting so we can have the discussion without having to orchestrate an entirely separate meeting. Okay, I see no questions then, so.
Oh, Paula has her hand up.
Go ahead, Paula.
We have a motion to receive those two items. Can we have?
I'll move the motion.
Okay.
And Bruce, you got to second it. And you are muted, so. And I got to learn how to say muted.
I have to
like
say,
you guys do.
I have to say, it's a very strange situation to have a two-person
I
quorum.
know,
in the Council.
it's,
It's bizarre.
it
In any
is
event.
bizarre.
In any event, Belcarra may as well be unique. So thank you very much. I think that, where does that take us in terms of the meeting itself? Just looking for a recommendation to adjourn.
Oh, hang on, we got to vote on the information. So I moved, you seconded, so we got to vote yea or nay to receive this for information, and then
Okay.
we can adjourn.
I'll call
Yeah.
the motion then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. And then a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
moved.
You
Second,
second.
and call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Paula, for all the work you've done in orchestrating this. Much
Thank
appreciated.
you.
And the
Thanks.
staff.
Take care,
And,
everybody.
have a great summer, everyone.
Okay, you
Thanks,
too.
everyone. Happy summer.
Bye.